What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Captain Trucker here in New Eagle, Pennsylvania. Welcome back to the channel. It's just around Pittsburgh, actually. I want to talk more and more in this video about why expat life is becoming more appealing for Americans, both now and the future, and why truck driving is a perfect opportunity, an undiscovered gold mine of travel opportunity for people who want to become expats, explore other parts of the world, and why remote work, too, is going to start driving more Americans out of the country. So right now we have about 9 million Americans living overseas. That's the estimate. We don't really know for certain. A lot of those are in Mexico, Canada, the UK, some in Germany, and I think Panama. And of course we have the Philippines, where it's about 220,000 Americans. So, you know, with inflation the way it is in the US and the ever-growing debt, there's about $35 trillion in debt. There is, the dollar could be weakening, you know, and in the next 10 to 20 years, I was talking about it before, I think more and more Americans, we're going to see these numbers increasing. And we also want to look at how this is going to affect other countries, particularly the Philippines, because that's what we talk about on this channel, and what that means for expats too, and the effects it can have on the cultures and all that good stuff. But anyway, the reason I was talking about that is, you know, truck driving, in my opinion, it's sort of an undiscovered opportunity for good income and travel opportunities, and a lot of people don't realize that for different reasons. But in the US now, a lot of OTR truck drivers, which means over the road, people that drive all over the country. Some of them, or many of them now, are immigrants apparently, because they're coming from other countries and they go back and forth. But a lot of the Americans who get into it, they don't realize the money-making opportunities they have, okay? Because a lot of companies dictate that company drivers may work 1 day a week for every 7 days out, okay? And they're supposed to live somewhere in the country, but they can't really, you know, monitor or dictate that. It doesn't really matter. Because people have asked me how I've been able to go back and forth so many times and why companies allow it, but the truth is it's actually more ideal if you're somebody that works in that type of dynamic like I do, because if you stay out on the road for 4 or 5, 6+ months at a time without going home to a specific location in the US, that actually helps the trucking companies make, you know, more revenue, because you're constantly out on the road. You don't have to be in a specific part of the country. The dispatchers don't have to worry about, you know, putting you around Denver, Colorado to be at your daughter's recital, or somewhere in Kentucky or something. You can pretty much stay on the road and they can put you where the high-paying loads are for them. So it actually works out better. And then when you're done driving at the end of the 6 months or 7 months or a year or less, you just turn the keys in and leave. And they just give the truck to another driver, and you either say, hey, you know, hire me back, or you go elsewhere. It's that simple. Mistake a lot of truck drivers make is because they're actually like honest people, many truck drivers, and that's why they get taken advantage of a lot by these companies and these corporate Joneses, because they'll tell the recruiters in the company up front what their plans for home time are, where they live, etc. And my advice, if you want to kind of do what I'm doing, or do what some of the immigrants to the US are doing now with truck driving, don't tell them your home time plans. What you got to do is just get in there. You can even have an address like in South Dakota, okay? South Dakota, there's no state income tax. The same with Texas, and the same with some other states. But the key with South Dakota is if you're like a digital nomad and you don't want to own a house or rent a property in the US, you can show up there, and this is no exaggeration, from out of state with just a state ID. Go to the local DPS or DMV, whatever it's called there, and with a one-night stay at a hotel like a Motel 6 or an Airbnb, you can use that receipt, literally from one-night stay, get your license transferred to South Dakota, and thereby acquire South Dakota citizenship, so you don't have to go through all these other processes, and it's a state where there's no state income tax.
Did she tell you where to go?
No, not yet.
Alright, the truck's gonna be coming around.
Okay.
When the truck comes around, you pull up, go straight, stay to the left.
Eight.
Dock number 8.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll try not to get lost. So I had to talk about that. I forgot what I was talking about now. What was I talking about, folks? Where were we? I'm at this dock. I got to get unloaded. Oh yeah, so South Dakota, okay? A lot of people don't know this. It's the state for like digital nomads. So you can establish state residency, get your license in that state just by doing that. Just with a one-night stay at a hotel. If you're from out of state, they'll give you residency, they'll give you a new state license. But anyway, so you can do that, and you can have like a drop box. You can even use that on your license, okay, for your home and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty simple. So anyway, a lot of truck drivers are in this perfect position to make pretty good, you know, middle-class living, you know, onwards $70, $80, $100,000 per year, sometimes more, depending on the type of driver you are. And you don't have to go home. You don't have to rent a place. You don't have to pay an expensive mortgage. And God forbid, don't buy a car, especially if you're out on the road. But anyway, so yeah, more, and also digital nomads, more and more of them are going to be going to the countries like the Philippines. And I think truck drivers, I think with the, you know, maybe with the influence of my channel, and maybe there's others, I think that we're going to start seeing a new breed of truck drivers too in this country that are going to be traveling more because they're in a perfect position to. They really are. You'll be surprised. I mean, that's what like truckers do. They spend all their time traveling the country. Like they work in transportation, they work in logistics. And to me, it was just like, you know, common sense getting into it. When I first went to the Philippines, I had no money. I had like $500 like in my pocket. That was my total net worth at the time. And I had, I got my girlfriend pregnant the first month I was there many years ago. And when I left, I didn't know, you know, that she was pregnant. We were trying to, but you know, you never know if things are gonna work out. So anyway, I was at a Starbucks sleeping in my car at the time, essentially homeless. I went through like this period of my life where I, like, I don't know, between careers. I used to do accounting work, but anyway, I was in the San Diego area and I got a call or a message and she told me like, you know, she was pregnant. And I was like, oh wow, that's great, you know. Well, that's cool, but the other issue is like I needed a career. So I was sleeping at a truck stop one night. I saw these trucks come in and it was like an epiphany at that moment. I was like, I got to become a truck driver. And so I did. I started studying for my permit. And then weeks later, I got accepted into this company called Prime, and on and on and on. But in that year alone, I went back and forth to the Philippines, I think 3 times. So it actually, it's worked out. And, you know, originally I was only going to do this for maybe a couple years, but actually I turned out really liking it because it's been a good opportunity to save money, like I said, but also travel the world. Like I've been several times to the Philippines. I've been to Indonesia. I spent a lot of time in like Mexico and Playa del Carmen. I've been to, you know, Holland, Amsterdam, and some other places, Thailand. So it's been pretty cool. Good opportunity. Okay, so the thing is, we got to make these trucking companies work for us company drivers. We got to use this to our advantage, especially for more and more people that want to become expats. Okay, and I'm gonna have to park this truck. Give me a second, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So basically, folks, the American workers getting tired of being treated the way they are. The American middle class, as I've said, are getting the short end of the stick. They're working just to survive. They're working, living in a delusion. They're spending all this money on interest and cars and houses because they don't want to be like the lower class because they're doing all the work. So they got pride. They want to live like wannabe kings and queens. The problem is, as usual, the middle class is losing out, okay, in America. So as time goes on, as the dollar hopefully does not get weaker, but maybe it will, we're going to see more and more Americans, man. They're going to be, we're at 9 million right now leaving the country, and there could be more, okay? I'm calling it the Great American Exodus. And I'm saying for truck drivers out there, and for also for remote workers, these are the tools you need, all right? But yeah, the treatment of like truck drivers is terrible. Back in the 1950s, it used to be good. They used to be a respectable profession. People actually liked them, and they actually made better money up until I think the 80s at some point. Truck drivers actually made more than they do now. The movies turned on them, politicians turned on them. They started making them a bunch of like you know, criminals. You know, in the 80s you had like Stallone and Over the Top, so they still had some good sentiments of stories about, you know, hard-working men doing arm wrestling competitions, driving trucks to build houses for their son. But anyway, the culture's taken a dump on them, the companies have. That's why they all pretend in all these advertisements like, oh, we love our drivers so much, we treat them like family. But they don't. The truth is they don't. They don't like them. They don't treat them well. It's just the way it is. Some are better than others, you know. As far as company relations and driver treatment, yes, some companies are better, like GP Transco is pretty good. Company I work out now pays good. I'm making the same money that I was at GP Transco, but I'm not working as hard, which I like. Now, as far as like their attitudes in the office, coming from management, how they talk to drivers, they just don't get it. Honestly, I've tried to tell them, I tried to work with them, but you know, a lot of companies now have their own podcasts and even YouTube channels. I said, you know, I'm like, you guys are acting like amateurs, man. I'm not going to publicly associate if I'm going to see more of these attitudes from the office staff and management. If I see a change, maybe, but not at this point. But anyway, that's beside the point. Nobody even asked. Folks, don't be afraid to become an expat. Don't be afraid if you have to live in your car, go to South Dakota, and do these things, all right? There's a world out there. You don't have to get stuck, okay? A lot of Americans feel stuck, okay, on that, what do they call it? The matrix, you know, the gerbil wheel, whatever. People are stuck in lifestyles. They're stuck in routines. They're a slave to the Joneses, but it doesn't have to be that way, all right? You guys have options. You make the dollar, man. The US dollar is still relatively strong in different parts of the world, like the Philippines. It's like, it used to be, you know, 48 pesos per dollar. Now it's 56, 57. But inflation might play some factors there. That depends and everything. But yeah, man, other parts of the world, your dollar's still strong, so don't sell yourself short. Don't be a slave to interest. Don't get stuck, okay? So take care of yourselves. But yeah, this number from 9 million is going to be going up, maybe exponentially, who knows? All right, well, you heard it from me, guys. It's Captain Trucker. Please subscribe and let me know your thoughts on this. Please comment. Do you think more and more Americans, we're at 9 million right now as expats, are we gonna see that number dramatically increase or maybe go down? And tell me your thoughts on how you become an expat or your plans for the future to become one. And let's support each other in this community. So please comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching the live streams. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.